So welcome back to AF Bathroom and Heating Podcast, fired up with AF. Great to have you back with us and hope you enjoy our next podcast. This week we got the pleasure of being with Reiss. Reiss is from RTR Group and he's going to tell us a little bit more about his business and his background in setting up the business. So a little bit of information from AF. So our new showroom is obviously well and truly away now. We do have special updates and offers on the cards, so please keep an eye on the socials. If you haven't got us on socials, follow us on the socials. All the links are below in the description. So please give us a tap and give us a like and follow up on our offers that we have on. So, Reiss, can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of your background and why you've set up the business?
Yeah, of course. So I am an Essex boy, born and bred. To be completely honest with you, I sort of from school always knew that I didn't want to be in an office job and working on a computer. I needed to do something manual with my hands and get stuck in. Always been very technically minded. Loved when I was a kid taking things apart, putting things back together, understanding how things work. I fell into an apprenticeship, to be completely honest with you, in building maintenance, training to be an electrician. I got qualified as an electrician, and I never really set out with the intention of building a business and setting up a business. It was always just jobs came in and I would do the jobs as and when they came in. It never really was a business goal. It's only really until recently I've started seeing what we've grown and where we've grown and realising it's getting into a bit of a beast. So yeah.
Right, just you go with the flow sometimes, and then it's
and then end up where you are. Yeah,
you look back and think, oh God,
yeah.
Perfect. So obviously, when you were through your apprenticeship, what was your main areas that you were covering?
So my apprenticeship was with a property maintenance company. To be completely honest with you, although I've done a kind of a 360 now and I'm back in the property maintenance sector, I didn't really enjoy the property maintenance side of the business because a lot of it was the routine, the fire alarm checks, sprinkler checks, emergency light flick testing, changing lamps, unblocking toilets. It was the general maintenance of buildings, which to me, I didn't do my apprenticeship as an electrical engineer to be doing unblocking toilets. I know that sounds rude, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I mean, that was partly why when I finished my apprenticeship, I then went and set up on my own doing installs, really. Started off with sort of friends and family, people that I knew and knew me, doing small installs, did a couple of rewires, bits and pieces, and it just sort of grew. It grew from there, to be honest. Got a little bit more into the commercial space, and then we ended up doing fit outs for the likes of Mitchell and Butler at All Bar One in Aldgate. We did what's it called? The steak place, Miller and Carter in Horsham. We've done a few big sort of did a pub in Wimbledon. Just sort of some really big, nice installs that we can get stuck into. And then COVID happened, and a few of the people that we worked for went under. It was a really hard time for people in the commercial space because it was something they didn't want to spend the money on because it was an unknown, and there were so many companies that were relying on that went under because they obviously had overheads and bits and pieces. So we kind of adapted and changed our business model. We already had a few contacts and contracts with estate agents and property management companies, doing sort of reactive call outs and a few bits of sort of compliance works and what have you. And we just sort of grew that from doing all the electrics and getting a call out once in a blue moon to then doing it all the time. And then as anything, when you start getting a relationship and you start getting a trusted name in the industry, they say, oh, do you know anyone that can do plumbing, for example? So I'd say, yeah, I've worked with this plumber, he's a really good plumber, I'll put you in contact. And then, like I said, it just grew from there. So Yeah.
You got to take your chances when you first start out. And, any chance of that call out or that possible relationship build, you got to kind of jump on and pull through. And sometimes you make too many relationships without realising.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of my biggest flaws, but I am a workaholic. I genuinely love what I do. I love to help people, and I'm a nightmare for saying no to people. So if someone says, "Oh, can you just do this job?" Yeah, I'll get it sorted for you, no problem. "Oh, can you do this job?" Yeah, no problem, I'll do it. But it's midnight, Reiss. What are you doing? I didn't have anything else to do, so to speak. So it was, But I've calmed down a lot since I've had kids and I've sort of settled home. I want to be around them a lot more, which
I think you don't really have a choice when you kind of go from having a partner to having a family. It completely changes your life of running a business and day-to-day tasks, doesn't it? So
100%.
As much as we try to work when we can, we got to spend the time with our loved ones and the family. And it's difficult to have that work-life balance.
Yeah,
it's a famous question that everybody asks or tries to find all the time. I don't think you ever find it. You're always trying to find that little bit more.
It's a juggle, isn't it? Between life and work, because you can't have life without the work, and you can't have So it's a juggle. But
it's making that time valuable, and having what you can throughout the week, and then weekends obviously try and be with the kids as much as possible.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And with your kids, how do you find your work-life balance at the minute? How do you juggle that?
So I've got a 6 and a 3-year-old at the moment. When the 6-year-old was born, because like I said, I am a workaholic. I will work any hours under the sun. If someone asked me to do Saturday and Sunday, it was a day to me. Bank holidays is a day. It doesn't make anything to me. But when my eldest was born, I was saying I won't ever work a Sunday. So Sunday is my day that I will spend time with them and sort of enjoy their company. I kind of, a year, maybe 2 years ago, we was at a teetering point in the company where I kind of had to either level up myself or slow down in what we were doing, because I was still on the tools and I'm still a qualified electrician. I still love getting my hands dirty, but I found that I was doing a disservice to myself and to my customers and also to my staff as well, that because I wasn't able to focus on the business, there was a lot of things in the background that weren't going as they should, because I was involved in the job that I was on at that minute at the time. I couldn't then think of anything else, or think of the future, or think of the next jobs coming in, what have you. So like I said, I've taken a bit of a step back, and obviously it's a lot better for me and my family, because it means I'm in the office. I can be home at 5 for dinners. I can do bedtimes at 7, which obviously when I was on the tools, I would never know what time I was home, because I'll be finished when I'm finished. And it was just, so that definitely has affected my work-life balance. And obviously I do like a holiday every now and then. So
we gotta work for something.
That's it. Yeah.
You go through that transition period through business, don't you? Like what you say there, when you're on tools, you're kind of juggling, you're kind of trying to keep afloat, you think everything's all right, and then something crumbles down, and it's difficult to have that mental mindset to come away from the tools, especially with Trade Mastermind. Obviously it's very much off the tools.
Yep.
So that's great to help you with that, but it's the mindset click of not just jumping in the car and quickly change the light switch or whatever it may be, and it's hard to really come away from that.
And I think you've nailed it on the head. Then it is a mindset thing. It's saying, because I mean, like I said, I get phone calls all the time of, can you go and do this, can you go and do that, and it's so easy because I am qualified to jump in the car and go and fix it. But it's trying to put yourself in the mindset of, no, I need to get someone else to do that, because otherwise that's all you'll end up doing.
Yeah, I've got rid of the van this year. So I thought, I need to pass the van down. So how can I do it? I managed to pass the van down. I thought, right, that's it, I'm going to get a car. And then, there's been a couple of times where I'm like, got the boiler change in. Who can do it? I'm like, I'll just shut the tools in the back of my car. I'm like, no. No, we've done this for a reason. The car is not getting a dirty boiler, your tools and everything in. and you just go to site and you've got everything with you anyway. So it's not worth the hassle, the headache, and like you say, you need to be on top of the business to 100%. Run things. And it's difficult to have that time off as it is.
And like I said, I think it was also a disservice to my customers because when I'm on the tools, when I was working, my phone's going off constantly. So they're never getting the best of me at either thing. So sort of focusing on the growth of the business and focusing on the business.
So when you made that transition period, what stage of business was you at? How many people did you have on the books or employed?
So to be honest with you, I probably made it far too late in my journey. I could have done it a lot earlier. I think we were up around 30, 35 employees, probably.
Probably quite far down the line then.
Very far. I mean, like I said, I haven't done it all myself, and a lot of the credit goes to my support around me. We've got management in the office that do a fantastic job. We've got maintenance coordinators that book it in. I've got a team of fantastic trades around me now that they don't need to be babied. They know what they're doing. They get on with the job. And that being said, we've got a fantastic set of customers as well that trust us to do the job and know that we're going to do it professionally and to the best of our ability and also for a fair price.
Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it? Is having that trust of your customer relationships and your rep through the obviously city that we work in. So that is key. And you can't obviously we go to some jobs sometimes and people's charging 14-15 grand for a bath out, shower in. It's like, how are they still functioning? But it's ridiculous what people can try to get away with sometimes, and it's building your own laurels.
Yes,
You build your own foundations.
100%.
I like to say that we're innovating the Southwest in bathrooms.
Nice.
It's having that step and that confidence to have in your own business to be able to push forward on, and having the management and leadership around you is key at any stage of business. But for that size that you've got or that you had then, obviously growing to where you are now, is even more key, isn't it? So obviously within your group of RTR, what are your companies within that you hold?
So we obviously started off with a core of electrical. So obviously my background, that's where we started. We have then got a telecoms division. So we install digital antenna systems, and these are generally for the network providers themselves. So EE, Vodafone, O2. We do a full turnkey solution for them. So we run fibre optic cables, we run antenna cables up onto the roof, and then copper cabling as well around the buildings. That is a really big project jobs. So we've worked at places like the O2 academies. We've worked at O2 stores up and down the country. We've worked in football stadiums, in hospitals, in sort of venues and arenas. So it's big scale. We do a lot of the office blocks in London where the signal is absolutely terrible, and it basically just gets you phone signal through the mobile network. So there's an antenna on the roof that picks it up and then sends it down into each of the floors or each of the areas. So that's telecoms. We have my electrical background fed into controls, BMS controls. I've always clicked, and like I said, taking things apart and bits and pieces. So the controls I just understood, and everyone in the controls industry, it's a very niche industry. Everyone says exactly the same thing. They said, I'd never started out to be a controls engineer. I just fell into it. It was just one of those things that, again, with my yes, can do attitude, it's like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah, I'll give it a go. And so obviously controls is one of the divisions. We have, from COVID and the sort of the asking for other trades, we've set up a property maintenance division. So within that, we employ gas engineers, we employ plumbers, roofers, fencers, groundswork teams, just a whole variety, plasterers, tilers, you name it. So we cover a whole turnkey solution for our property management companies. And then the final one that we've just set up, to be honest, partly due to my sort of beliefs, so to speak, is the renewables department. Obviously, having 2 young kids, I want to provide a future that is sustainable for my kids. We have done a few installs and bits and pieces, but we're big in the solar industry at the moment, mostly focusing with our commercial clients on sort of some of the managed properties and obviously the maintenance around it, and then obviously EV as well, again, for our property management clients. So.
Obviously, just on the renewable side, obviously you are more commercial based. So, obviously the solar and the EV, is that purely kind of commercial?
So we have engineers to do both, because although whilst I say my client base is commercial, we generally work for sort of property management companies, letting agencies, private landlords, and sort of councils and what have you. So most of our customers are commercial, but we're working within a domestic setting. So we're working on a flat, we're working on a house, we're working on something, but it's not generally the end user that owns the house, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We have done a few, again, just through people I know. I am the world's worst marketeer. I hold my hands up, and everything comes to us because of our reputation and sort of our standards, I would say. So we have done a few for domestic customers that sort of already know us and use us, but the majority of our work, like I said, is for the commercial customers.
And how do you find, with the new division of the renewables, EV and solar, there's a few companies out there doing everything. How do you find the installs and the regulations and the government side of things on that?
Like I said, it's a hard one in domestic, and I don't mean to put anyone off or anything, but I do think it's a little bit of a race to the bottom in the domestic market. I think that there's so many companies out there that see it as a quick win and as a high ticket item that they're going out and flogging. They don't care about the installation standards. They're just whacking them on the roof and then forgetting about it. We are going to a lot of maintenance jobs where we're looking after sort of existing systems that have been just that, thrown on the roof. There's no care, there's no detail, bits and pieces. Like I said, that isn't what I'm about. I'm not about doing something cheap and quick and getting money in and putting them on the roofs. We want to do a proper installation, so we're probably a little bit more expensive on the install side, just because we want to spend the time and do it right. But like I said, a lot of our stuff is maintenance that we're doing.
But again, it's that value, isn't it? When you're doing solar and it's £10,000-15,000, if someone can come in £2,000 cheaper, great. But generally, there's a reason why. Yeah. Sometimes people are out there to rip you off, but as long as you can see the value within your company, then obviously it's a matter of doing that job right. It's, for us doing the bathrooms and kitchens, it's a large investment, and this week we're redoing a bathroom that's been in for less than a year. It's just a horror show. Yeah. And people do it cheap, and then they have to get us back in, like yourselves, with the maintenance, and you have to just end up paying twice.
Yeah, pay cheap, pay twice, isn't it? That's
absolutely. The same. It's horrendous what some people do and how people are still busy with what they do. Yeah. But it's always going to be the way, isn't it? So
I think the difference with those sort of companies is they don't have any repeat business. So once they've installed it, once they've got your money, you never see them again. No. You never recommend them. Whereas I think businesses like ours that pride ourselves on our reputation, whilst we're not the cheapest out there, we're staying around. We're in it for the long game. We're in it to build relationships and grow our customer base and to do the best job for them ultimately as well.
Yeah, so that referral and that customer experience is key, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So with the property maintenance side, again, obviously commercial based on obviously the dealings that you have with the end user, and how do you find that to be comparing to domestic? Obviously a lot nicer with not necessarily having to deal with people all the time, but then obviously you get some tricky landlords sometimes.
You do. I mean, like I said earlier, we're very, very fortunate with our customer base that we've built up the relationships and the trust within the industry that they do take our word for what's going on, because we're not out to rip anyone off. They're slightly different, so the cash flow is a little bit longer. it takes a little bit longer to come in from the commercial customers. So some of our clients are sort of 90-day terms, so end of month, 90 days, which obviously if you've already paid out all the materials, you'll know you're waiting 3 months to try and get paid for a job that you've done 3 months ago. One of the sort of the good things about it is the people that we're working for aren't and can't knock you. They're big councils, they're big housing associations, they're sort of big property management companies. So very rarely do you get any sort of comebacks, or not comebacks on the job, but very rarely do you get any sort of pushback on the invoice. Once the price has been agreed, they will pay what you've agreed. It's not the most glamorous of works, to be completely honest with you, because obviously landlords do want it done as cheap as possible to keep their costs down. But like I said, it's just working with them, and it's consistent work. It's never going to go there. Unfortunately, the amount of social housing and bits and pieces that's coming into this country and is expanding is going to continue to keep us in business for a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's the amount of builds going up is crazy, really. They're everywhere you look in every city. Yeah. Keeps us going. Definitely. So, how many? So, obviously, within your group, I know you've gone through them. Was that 5?
So, there's 5 divisions at the moment. Yes, yeah.
At the moment,
potential fire and security to come on later on. Yeah,
that'll be in a couple of months' time then for the end of the year.
See, this is where I'm at the business, and I'm just making sure everything is streamlined. I don't know if it was a podcast or a book I was reading, but it basically said if you build on foundation, you need to make sure the foundations are right. When building a house, make sure your foundations are correct, your systems, procedures and processes are in place before you start building the house. If you build a house on unstable foundations, it's going to come crashing down around you. So that's what we're really focused on at the moment is building the foundations, making sure everybody knows the standards that we work to. Like I said, we've got it in people's head, and we've got a really good team around us, but it's just making sure we're refining that process and make sure it's working as efficiently as possible before then taking the next step to grow.
That's a great, never looked at it that way or heard that one, but yeah, that's a great phrase there to be used. So obviously dived into a couple of your businesses there. So obviously on the main electrical side.
Yep.
Obviously when you come in across, your domestic electricals, is it the full aspects of kind of from start to finish inside of a house?
So, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like I said, our company's more maintenance bias, so it's compliance, so it's your EICRs, your PAT testing and bits and pieces for social landlords. But we obviously do the full package. So off the back of the EICRs, we often do full rewires of properties. We often do sort of circuit changes, small testing and bits and pieces. We do a lot of big buildings. Sort of they're not HMOs. They're like a block of flats, what have you. So we obviously look after all of their services in the communal areas as well. So it tends to be, like I said, the majority of our business is maintenance based and compliance based. But that being said, we do installs. We've done quite a few different and interesting installs.
So on the compliance side of things, what are you looking at inside of a bathroom? What sort of compliance for electrics?
So within a bathroom, obviously in BS 7671, it is called a special location. So there are certain regulations that you need to meet within the bathroom location. So it's things such as distances from showers, distances from taps, distances from baths. There is something called zones, and don't quiz me on the zones because I don't know it off the top of my head. I know where it is in the regs book, but I don't know where it off the top of my head. But there's sort of underneath the bath, you can't put certain things underneath the bath. You obviously need to adhere to certain ingress protection codes, so IP codes of fans, of lights, of etc. if you're putting it within a zone, or it needs to be located outside a zone. Obviously RCD protection is quite a big one in a bathroom, and obviously I don't know how you find it with your installs, but quite a lot of them don't have RCDs or RCBOs, so it's just making sure with that and then obviously any of the work, because we actually work with a few bathroom fitters locally to us who we come in and check it all out and sign it off and do any upgrades that they need us to do. And obviously it's then just making sure you issue the correct certification after the works has been complete.
Yeah. And what about extractor fans inside of a bathroom? Is there any compliance around an extractor fan? We get asked, you should have one. No, I don't want one. I'm taking it out.
So, without boring you with my technical knowledge, it comes under Part F of the building regulations, which is ventilation, and there is a minimum litres per second that you're meant to have in a bathroom. A little bit of a grey area, because the building regulations, although it applies to every building, it's only really enforced within new build and sort of if you're doing modifications to a under permitted not permitted development, under the sort of the building regs. So, I mean, I would always try and fit one. I would always urge the customer to fit one, because the build up of steam, if steam isn't escaping the room, you'll get a mould build up, and it just causes a whole world of problems. A lot of the issues that we actually come to in sort of our social housing is caused by damp and mould. So it's such a important part of an installation, is to make sure that the ventilation is correct. There is an argument, if you've got an open window, can you open a window? There is an argument for that, and whilst that is in Part F of the building regs, that you can use a window opening as manual ventilation, I think it's called. Are you going to remember to do that every time you have a shower? It's so much easier to have an extractor fan. Well, this is it, exactly, yeah. It's so much easier to have an extract fan that's installed, be it a humidistat, be it on a timer that it automatically comes on with the lights and then overruns. It's just so much easier for the customer to not have that extra thing to think about and worry.
And it's that thing again, isn't it? You can get an extractor fan for £20. We tend to fit, the higher end extractor fans. They're £100, £150, even up more sometimes. But you can see that steam cleared after a shower within seconds. Really, the room's clear again, as opposed to fitting a £20 extractor fan, the room still being full of condensation 10 minutes after. It's just not doing the job. So it is very much key to spend the money in the right places sometimes. I always say your brassware, your extractor fan. There's certain areas within the bathroom that you want to make sure you're spending money on,
getting the right
if you're
things.
on a tight budget. It's just having that kind of mind.
I mean, there are a lot of options out there, and like we said earlier, you buy cheap, you pay twice, what have you. So it's making sure that the extractor fan is right for the environment, and also it's got the right flows and bits and pieces as well.
And customers see, extractor fans, taps, basins, baths, everything you can possibly buy is obviously plastered all over the internet. So when you see an extractor fan for £20 and you see one for £200, and they're both square, they both go into the ceiling. What's the difference? So customers just go, well, it's £20.
Go with the £20 one.
Obviously for us,
it's just when it breaks down in 2 months and we're called out to replace it every 2 minutes.
Rattling and it's not working. And so obviously, coming into the kitchen side of things, kitchens are a little bit less tight on the regulations, with obviously the zones of water and everything else. But what compliance is required to be followed inside of a kitchen for electrics?
So, obviously, it completely depends on what you're doing within the kitchen. Obviously, if you're just ripping out a kitchen and all the electrics is staying in situ, then in theory you shouldn't have touched the electrics at all. I would always recommend, obviously, to get tiles off and bits and pieces to carry out what's called a minor works electrical certificate, which will just check that anything that you've done, that cable hasn't popped out, and make sure that, one of the things I always say is never leave a property worse than when you went in. So it's just making sure that it's all back as it is and safe and functional. Obviously, I don't know exactly what you do within a new kitchen, but quite often you're upgrading hobs, you're upgrading ovens. So it's obviously vital to make sure that you've got the right cable size, you've got the right loadings, because anyone can wire a 10 kilowatt cooker onto a 2.5mm cable. It would come on, but as soon as you start to use it under its full load, it will do two things. It will either burn the cable out that it's supplying it because it's trying to pull too much power through it, or it will keep tripping your breaker and you'll get overloading tripping. So it's just obviously making sure that everything's sized correctly, running in new circuits for bigger appliances. Anything over 3 kilowatts should really be on its own circuit. And then, it's just carrying out an EIC and anything else.
Yeah, most common one that we find really is the hob difference of energy required to the oven. So obviously you used to have your 10 mil cable supply on the oven. Now it's the other way
10
around.
mil supply on the hob.
So generally the oven can take the 2.5 mil.
Yep.
And the hob, obviously, with it being induction now, is pulling a lot more power through. So I think, there's a few things I've seen previously where, people aren't aware and they've just wired it like for like. And,
Well, this is it. Unless you're an electrician, it's something that, catches people out sometimes.
So it's always safer just to get that certificate for the sake of a couple of £100 possibly.
100%, yeah.
Just get it covered.
And to get peace of mind as well, because last thing you want to be doing is burning your house down because you've just wired something up that you didn't know about.
And is there a regulation? So obviously you've got your worked up. Is there a regulation on height above for switches?
So it's not a regulation per se. Again, the heights for sockets and switches comes in the building regulations, Part P. Again, sorry. Of heights, and also Part M for accessibility requirements as well. There's a standard we normally do them at, because obviously, but it depends on what upstand you're going for, because some people only have a 2-inch or 50 mil upstand, some people might have a 100 mil upstand, some people might have the whole backsplash. Have you gone all the way up to the cabinet? So it all depends. There's nothing within electrical regulations that says it must be at this height. It's building regulations, but again, when you're doing a kitchen replacement, because it's not notifiable works, it doesn't technically fall into that purview of, because again, you're not going to just do your kitchen sockets at one height if all the other sockets in the house are a different height, because you've got to use a little bit of common sense as well, I think, to interpret regulations.
And make it usable. I've seen sockets above there and you can't even get the plug in sometimes.
Well, this is it, exactly. If it's too close, if it's sitting on the counter and you can't put your lead in, then it's not fit for purpose. And we've also had it where they've spun them upside down and then they're plugging them in upside down, and that's just causes a whole world of issues with liquid and stuff running into cables and into sockets. So.
Great. So nice to know a little bit more on that. I think we may need to do a podcast on building regulations.
I'm off that day.
So obviously, as business grows, we dive in, we overcome. We're constantly facing different problems. The challenges that you first had when you first set out to challenges now. How do they compare, and where are you with the challenges you're facing?
We're business owners. There are always problems. I seem to be fighting problems most of my day. They've differed. Obviously, when I was on my own, the problems were relatively small, relatively easy to fix. Didn't cost a lot of money. It was just more my time. Whereas now, I'm sort of having to sort of think bigger, and it's just where the company is bigger, and companies sort of grown to a size that it's just dealing with the problems as they come up. But I don't think whatever size you get to or you do, I think there's always problems. It's just, again, it's how you deal with it. And
I think you just take it in your stride, don't you? I think some days when you sit here now and you look back on yesterday and last week and previously, you fight problems and you don't even feel like it's just a normal day to us now. It's just we take it within the stride. Unless something major happens, you're like, crap.
I definitely think I've got a thicker skin now than what I did when I started, and I think I'm also not sure of myself, but I think I've got a lot more sort of self-confidence in telling people exactly what my opinions are. Whether they believe them or not, I will stick to my beliefs and my core values.
We've got to stand strong as business owners. 100%. People come on and people will take that mile with giving an inch, and a lot of people will run with that quite easily. So, it's having that confidence and having the management, isn't it? And again, like you said earlier, the good people around you to implement the management as well. And is there a project that stands out as, you're maybe one where you've learnt a lot from, and then one where, everything is just on, like maybe like one of the pubs or a big place where you've done something that's just gone swimmingly? You haven't even had to think about it.
So, I mean, I think it's a standard thing in the construction industry, and my daughters and my wife hates me because every time we go somewhere else, we've done that, we've worked there, we've done this, we've done that
the other day.
Yeah, so I think it's a standard thing in the construction industry, and to be completely honest with you, that's what I miss about being in the office, because I don't get the job satisfaction of handing things over. Yeah, and my list when I get in the morning gets twice as big by the time I leave. But I mean, we've worked at some fantastic places. I mean, especially in sort of the controls industry. Like I said, we've got some of the massive office blocks up in London, and we've done the full fit outs in. Like I mentioned, we wired the Dog and Fox pub in Wimbledon, which when you stand back and look at it, I think with every project there are learning curves. I think anyone that says a project goes swimmingly is testing the waters a little bit. I mean, there are jobs that go better than others. There are jobs that obviously are easy, and one of my not sayings, but one of the things I always say is, if it was easy, somebody else would be doing it, because I normally get the trickier jobs that nobody knows quite where to go with it. Yeah, like I say, I can genuinely say I'm proud of everything we've done, whether it's general maintenance, changing a socket, or sort of some of the really big installs that we've done. I mean, like I said to you, I've worked in some amazing places, like the London Zoo, Buckingham Palace. I've worked at the Eurostar in where's that, in Kent way, isn't it?
Yeah.
They were building a new not HS2, that's a high-speed railway. They were building a new energy centre this side of the water, because all of the energy for the Eurotunnel comes from France. So obviously when we got out of the EU, they had to build one in the UK so that we could save the power here. So like I said, some of the places I've worked and we have worked in is just unbelievable, to be completely honest with you. But
I bet working in some of those places, it's an eye opener. So sometimes it's rewarding when the Wimbledon pub that you look at. It's a lovely pub to be around and seeing, and to go in there and see it. It's quite a well-known pub around the area, that one. Yeah, and that's and especially Buckingham Palace as well. It's.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't doing any massive wiring in there. That was the controls aspect that I did. I did a gas interlock system in there that was quite interesting. But
so on the control side of things, what is your main coverage? Is it kind of any kind of gas and electrical controls?
So it's mostly heating, ventilation, and air conditioning controls is what we do. So within sort of big office blocks, within commercial kitchens. There's obviously regulations in place to do with sort of extract and supply air, and obviously interlocking that in with the gas so that there's not excess build-ups of CO2, etc. Like I said earlier, I'm the world's worst marketeer. Everything has come from sort of building relationships. We got a lot of relationships with other mechanical companies, with other electrical companies that sort of rely on us to do the more intricate details, bits and pieces. Building, designing bespoke panels to get things to come on at certain times, certain temperatures, etc. So
it's nice to have that to your to your stamp of the book with the business, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's a very, very small division of the business, because it is so niche, and it's so it's hard to train people in to know it. Like I said, it's such a small industry, but it's the one I get the most pleasure from, because it's not every electrician can do it, if that makes sense. It's something that challenges my brain and makes me think outside the box of how we're going to achieve it and how we're going to get it.
It's nice to overcome those challenges and actually think and use your mind sometimes, isn't it? We get, day to day, and, like I said, we have the problems that come through and we solve them, and, we carry on with our daily tasks, and that's all part of the day. But, when you're on a challenging day, or you don't really think outside the box, it's more rewarding for...
I definitely think so. I think I thrive on stuff that people say that you can't. There's just no way of doing it. I'm like, there is a way. It's just how do I get round?
We will
doing
get
it?
there.
Yeah.
And so what's been your, I know you said you're proud about everything, with the business in this direction. Obviously, you've gone through COVID,
Yep.
quite a few bits throughout the life of the business.
Yeah.
What's your proudest moment of the business so far?
It's a quite hard one to answer. One of my not biggest achievements, but one of the things that I sort of made me think is we every year we do sort of 4 socials a year. So we do something around March time, where we'll go out and have some dinner and bits and pieces. And recently had a social event where we did some escape rooms, and we filled up this whole venue. There were 6 different rooms, and we filled up all 6 rooms. And then we went out for some dinner and drinks afterwards, and just to see 42 people in a room drinking, laughing, having a good time, and thinking, actually, I've built this from just me. I've obviously got a great team around me, and I'm not saying it is just me, but this is what I've built. That was a really sort of proud moment for me to see everyone there, everyone enjoying and hopefully liking what they do.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point of, having that reality check sometimes and going, this is what we've got, this is what we've built, and having that step back and going, actually, I'm doing the right job, or, we've come this far and look at what we've got. I think you get stuck in the circle of life, same as everything and anything, isn't it? You just work home.
Yeah.
Having that time to really stand back and
look at what you got.
Yeah.
I don't know how your brain works, but I think as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for the next thing. You're always looking, how can I grow? Where can I do this? What can I do this? And like I said to you, the fire and security division that we're going to be adding either later this year or next year, what have you, I'm always looking for the next sort of thing that we can do to help our customers and to push the business to the next level. And taking that time to just stop and actually go, look, I've got a good thing here. We're doing all right, and
Yeah, it gives you a bit more confidence as well to go forwards. And you're coming into a busy month with the maintenance. You've obviously probably got some students and bits that you've just been turning over.
Yep.
So having that time to it really just gives you the energy to go forward again, doesn't it? We've got to be positive. We're business owners. We have to be positive with the business. It's hard sometimes when you're against it a lot and you're fighting and you just feel like you're getting nowhere sometimes, and it happens. Go through days, weeks, months of it sometimes, don't we? Yeah. It's the joys of it, but having that positivity to give back sometimes is really difficult. But snippets and moments like that, really just gives that energy back. And doing the quarterly events is quite a good idea. I try to do. I wouldn't say I'll do them every quarter or do 4. I try to stage them out. Sometimes we'll do some group bits of football. I'll do sponsorship with football, so we'll have a few events around there. Obviously, that's not everyone's cup of tea, so that comes and goes. Got one coming up in a couple of weeks' time, where it's just, we've been through a lot this year. Not really had the chance to sit back, so, hopefully, if I get a good turnout on mine, I'll be able to have a moment to myself there as well. I think we're going down the route of Boom Battle Bar. Something like that. So a bit of maybe some axe throwing. I don't know if I trust everyone axe throwing. I
definitely wouldn't trust my staff with axe throwing.
Got some virtual darts, some shuffleboards, some pool, a bit more calmer.
Yes.
It's just nice to get together and get the team morale going, isn't it? And especially 42. I'm at 15, looking forward to 18 at the minute, and it's still managing numbers and managing people. Yeah. And you got to keep that morale high, and let's say being positive. Yeah. And it's hard when I sell the business on not being just work. There's a little bit more about family life and enjoying your work life. Yeah. And I've always been in the concept you enjoy your work life. We get a little bit more out of you when you're happy, and if there was a problem, you're more willing to help us out. I
think like kind of expanding on what you said there is building a team of like-minded people who want. As like I said, there are downs in this business. There are downs in electrical, in installation, etc. It's building the right people with the right culture fit, the right sort of ethics as you that actually want to get things done. And I think by working with people like that, you get the most out of them.
Absolutely, yeah. People who just want to come to work. I've got a couple of guys on. They're kind of 8 till 4, and that's it done. But they're also bought in to AF. They understand where we're going, and it's a nightmare when I'm like, you're not just doing an extra half an hour. He's like, half 4, I'm done. But that's, he's, more experience on the side of the industry, and wants a work-life balance. So fantastic. I wish that I could have that shut off. I'm only envy and jealous of it. But the main thing is, out of all of that, there are other people who would work the hours we work. I've got a few of them, and you've got to have a mixture of people 100%. Within the business. If you had everyone in your business same as you, then the business wouldn't run because everyone would want to be at the top.
It'd be hectic,
And like I say, as long as everyone's in on that dream of what you're trying to deliver and where you're going with the business, I think that's the main thing. And again, ultimately, is having that high morale and positivity. You can work with someone's skill set, but you can't really work with their personality or mindset. So that's the joys of recruitment, which is another conversation in itself, which I'm going through. So. Which obviously you probably found out as well with the joys of recruitment and finding the people at 42 is.
We've learned a lot by mistakes. We've learned a lot from thinking. But that being said, there are a lot of good people out there that do want to work and do want to stick to their values. So
And obviously you kind of started business up, didn't really think about, realised becoming of where you are now. But how do you feel that growth has been to yourself in the business?
Like I said, I've got a really good team around me, and I don't know if it's me attracting them. I don't know if it's the company attracting them. There's been a lot of people that we've parted ways with because they didn't meet what we wanted to meet. Like I said, I never really set out to grow it as big as it's got. It's kind of just naturally grown and gone in the right direction because of the people that are around me and have helped me get it to where it is, I think.
And so where do you see RTR Group going in the next few years? Obviously you've got the fire alarm systems which you're penned in. Is it kind of you're thinking just hold on to that, or get that started and hold on and then push on with something else? Or
so part of the sort of the value that we give to our customers, sort of the commercial customers, is they don't want to be ringing a fire alarm engineer because they've got this problem. They don't want to be ringing an electrician because they've got that problem, a plumber or a gas engineer, because otherwise they've got a whole contact list of people that they have got to deal with, and they haven't got the relationships and bits and pieces. So kind of how our business has naturally grown is through those relationships and sort of offering a turnkey solution, a one problem stop solution for them. So they just have to contact one person. So like I said, I want to grow the business so that we can offer, like I said, fire and security is one of the things that we can do, but we use subcontractors, we use external subcontractors to help with that. But obviously bringing that in-house will obviously allow us to offer a lot more competitively, and also sort of be able to be reliable. So one of the things I don't like with subcontractors is obviously they manage their own diary.
Yep.
They tell me I can't go on this date, I can't go on that date, there's an emergency, I'm not going. I like to, and that's why all of my people are employed, they're all PAYE employed. I like to have someone on my books that I go, right, we'll move this around, we'll juggle this around, and we'll squeeze him in there, and we'll do this job in here to make sure that the customer's life is made as easy as possible. So it's really just sort of scaling it. I think we've got most trades under our, with the exception of obviously specialist trades that we wouldn't get enough work for, under our group divisions and the stuff that we can do. It's obviously just offering our services to more, because there are so many companies out there doing it. There's so many councils out there that are crying out for maintenance. There was a new regulation thing that's just been passed in Parliament. I'm not gonna say it right, but there's basically a bill that makes sure that landlords have got a duty of care for like damp and mould and issues and bits and pieces. Which obviously it's good to know that people are actually looking up on that.
Causing chaos with the councils.
Whilst I don't disagree with you, it is causing chaos with the councils. I also think that if they were doing it right in the first place, it wouldn't be causing this.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to live in a mouldy, damp place, would you? Would anyone?
No, but then I also, it's a very tough world, and I don't want to get too much into the politics of it at the moment. But my house, I've got 2 young kids. My house is an absolute state. There's toys everywhere. There's bits and pieces here. I've got a dog that's running around chewing absolutely anything she can get her hands on. But I've still got care in my home. I still make sure that the walls, if the kids have drawn on the walls, I will repaint it and tidy it up. I think a lot of the people that we go to, and again, I'm not tarnishing them all with the same brush, but because it's not their house, they don't care. They literally, whatever, and there's paint and whatever thrown up the walls, and there's no carpets, and I take my shoes off when I walk in, so I don't get dirt all through on the carpets. They don't care. A lot of them, they just, well, it's not my carpet. What do I care? I'll just call so and so in to replace the carpet in a year's time. So I do think the onus has to be on the tenant as well, a little bit. Obviously, with bathrooms, just going back to the extractor fan systems, we normally so part of the BS 7671 is about having mechanical isolation, safe isolation. So normally we'll install either a 3-pole isolator switch or a switch on the outside of the bathroom, so you can safely isolate the fan. So if you need to replace it or do any maintenance on it, you can turn it off. When we go to some of these properties, the council have fitted the fans, the tenants turned it off because it's too noisy, because they don't want the noise on. So at what point does it become, well, actually, we have provided you with the stuff that you need, you're just not doing your duty? I mean, very similar with the sort of employment laws and bits and pieces. As an employer, we have a duty of care to make sure that the engineer is safe and the employee is safe to do what they're doing. If they don't follow our safe systems of work and our safe practices and wear their PPE and they're involved in an accident, well, actually, the onus is now on them because they're not following our procedures and they're not looking after yourself. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think common sense is going downhill a little bit.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and I think part of that is same as socialising and social media, being on the phones, and people just are thinking less. Chat GPT is obviously very rife with everything. It does everything and anything for you. So using your mind and having to think about things is becoming less consistent, and with that, obviously, you lose the common sense. I think my wife was the start of that, to be honest. So what motivates you to keep on pushing forward?
My family, I think. Like I say, I have 2 young girls, and I just want to make sure that their life is the best life that I can give them for them, to be honest with you. So it's purely selfish about the girls. But like I said, that being said, I do, with the obviously the 42 staff that we've got at the moment, I love going to the socials and I love being able to give back to them as well. Like I say, I know it sounds really corny, but I think of us as a family. I think of us as a, and it's trying.
We all spend more time together than we would obviously our family members. So it is very much it has to be the team family aspect to that. And I say you have to enjoy it, so it's giving that a little bit back. Fantastic. And I mean, working for the upbringing of your kids is I think most family or parents' ambition, really, where possible.
How the vision looks for them, I don't quite know yet, but I just know that I want to be able to provide whatever they need whenever they need it, basically.
No, it gives us the reassurance that they'll be all right in life. So, what advice would you give to someone starting out? If you were to do this all again, if you would start out tomorrow, what's the main advice you'd give to yourself?
I would say stick true to your values, stick true to what you believe in, and bits and pieces. I think everyone nowadays is very quick to just do something because they've got to do it, because they have to do it, because they have to earn money. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, and I quite often say this to the apprentices that come through, if you don't want to be here, like, it's not a problem. Like, everyone is different. You're different. You would want different things than what I would want. I love I genuinely love what I do. So every day when I wake up, it's not yes, there are problems, yes, there are chores, but I do genuinely love what I do. So it's just like I said, just be true to yourself and find something that you enjoy doing, and then that's what I would do. And whether that's in electrics, it is a tough old world out there in the construction industry. There's so many regulations, and they're just increasing the regulations day by day, and it's getting harder and harder for insurances, and you've got to have this certificate and that certificate, and I mean,
it's never ending sometimes, isn't it?
100%. It's so, like I said, you've got to be doing it for the right reasons, not just to make a quick buck, because that isn't the reason to get.
No, I quickly found out when I first started.
Yeah.
I thought, I'll be a millionaire in 3 years' time.
Yeah,
be living life in Spain on my super yacht.
Yeah.
So it's but I think everything we've covered and what you've mentioned there, core values, processes, reliability.
Yep.
I think that's the three to stick to really kind of push your business forward.
Well, we actually, I'm not sure if it was a couple of years ago, we set our core values in the company, and like I said, reliability is one of my biggest ones. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to do something, I am there and I do it. I think we asked all the engineers what they thought we stood for and what their sort of input with our values were, and sort of we brain tasked it, and then we creatively made it into RTRG. Don't ask me to quote you on all of them. I know them roughly, but it's So we've sort of tied that into the company, so everyone knows what sort of our core values are. And
give us a few then.
So, like I said, reliability is one of them. Actually, I do know them all now. So, respect is the other R. So it's reliability, trustworthy, respect, and growth is RTRG. So obviously reliability, like I said, we touched on it. We turn up when we say we're going to turn up, bits and pieces. Trustworthy, obviously we say what we aren't here to mess anyone around. We're not here to bump up your price and bits and pieces. Respect is about respecting everyone, whether that's between the company, not talking to apprentices like get in the loft, you do this, you do that. Everyone's human. It also comes down to our customers as well, respecting our customers, what they want. And like I said, a lot of our stuff is social housing, so the tenants or their customers aren't in control of their house, but it's still their home, so we have to be respectful of them and their property as well. Even though they don't own it, they're still living in it, and it's still their home. And then the final one is growth. So that is growth of us as a business. That's growth of our engineers. We're a massive, I think we've got about 6 apprentices at the moment. So we're a big provider of apprenticeships. Coming from an apprenticeship myself, I'm a strong believer of that's how you get the next youth and next people into the industry. We're a massive one for training, whether that's health and safety or personal development, what have you as well. So they're
it's nice to give it back to the youth as well. Apprentices are hard to come by, decent ones. They can be. I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush, because I've got some fantastic apprentices that work for us. But I think you said, coming back to the social media and everything, and being an influencer, everyone's after the quick wins. Everyone wants something instant gratification. They want to get what they want then and there. Amazon, you can click and order it next day and you get it straight away. An apprenticeship is hard graft. It's not easy going. It's not the best money to start off with, but you're learning a trade and you've got to stick with it, and you've also got to want to. Money for the apprentice has gone right up, to be honest, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, with the raise of sort of national living and bits and pieces as well. Yeah, it has gone up.
So there's a bit more advertising than it was before.
Yeah.
So. Perfect. So we've got a quick fire round. It says question each way.
Yep.
So I'll ask you the question, if you can repeat the question back to us. And then it's just quick answers, whatever comes into your mind first.
Okay.
If you want to go on a bit more after the question, you can. But yeah, just snappy answers.
Okay.
So, we'll do one each, and we'll go through the list. First thing you do when you get to site.
After being bombarded with people coming to me asking questions that I haven't had a chance to turn on my computer yet and find out, it's got to be have a cup of tea. And yeah. So, what about you? Are you?
So I will just kind of start evaluating. So the minute I start driving up to site, obviously we're domestic houses. So what's the waste like? Dust sheets.
Constantly thinking,
if it's going to
where am I going to put a skip?
Yeah. Where's the flue to? I'll try and find the flue where am I going to in the house. Perfect is in the garage, even nicer.
Yeah.
Do you tidy as you go, or do you clean up at the end when you're on the tools?
I clean as the end. I am the world's worst. So if I'm on the tools, I am the world's worst because my work site is normally like my brain, so everything is just everywhere. I know exactly where it is. It all has its place, but then I'll have a proper clean up and tidy. Yeah, personally. Yeah. But I think that comes down to not my mindset, but my personality is I am very, very erratic. I'm very sort of quick fire, whereas I can't.
Just get it in, get it done.
Yeah. What about your guys? Are you?
Tidy as I go, really. So try not to have too much of a mess towards the end. So it varies, depends on the day, depends what we're doing. But there's nothing worse at the end of the day of having an hour clean up. Ruins that finish to the day.
Yeah, true.
Are you radio on or radio off while working?
I think I like the radio on personally. Whether I listen to the radio, so it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Disney songs with the girls or sort of Radio 2 in the background, it doesn't. So long as I've got some noise in the background, I'm quite happy. But you will catch me singing along if there isn't any music. If not, so yeah.
Likewise, really. So radio's on, even driving in the car. I have to do a lot of driving now, so it's just kind of cracked a bit of noise, and it's just the background, and then it's thinking time. Yeah, really. When I'm on site, I prefer it a bit louder, so there's less thinking and more working.
Yeah. So, are you solo jobs or team jobs? So your
So solo jobs mainly. It's always nice to team up where possible, but it's difficult, obviously with pricing and obviously depending on the size of the work. Kitchen's a lot easier. Yeah. Bathroom's a bit harder. We do oil boilers as well, so Worcester oil boilers up to 200 kg. Yeah. So it's not really a one-man job, that one.
When obviously, like I said, we do some work with some bathroom and kitchen fitters, what have you, and because there's such a tight deadline, because obviously the customers without a bathroom, you need to get it turned round pretty rapid. So every trade is in there on top of themselves, and you're climbing over the plumber as he's doing something down below. So, like you said, it's handy on those smaller jobs. Kitchens, you've got a bit more room to work with, haven't you? So, like I said, for us, the majority of them are solo jobs. Because we're doing sort of maintenance and repairs, they're sort of on their own or with an apprentice that obviously teaching them what to do. I do like when you're on a team job. So some of the bigger project jobs, the pubs and bits and pieces that we've done, where there's sort of 4 or 5 of you there, you do get a bit more. Not competition, because I wouldn't say competition is quite the right word, but you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I do think that is quite nice.
The energy levels get a lot higher, don't they?
100%, yeah, 100%. So
no more up for it.
Yeah.
What do you feel the hardest skill to master in your trade?
So, like I said, It's not really hard to master. I think the controls needs you to think outside the box and think. Like I said, there's not a lot of electricians that can do controls. There are some out there that can, but trying to think through 10 steps ahead of what you need to do, rather than focusing on what you're doing now, you've got to think of actually, right, what's the outcome, and then how do I work that back to then get what I want the circuit or what have you to achieve. So I think that's very hard to get your head around it. I'm just at the moment developing like a training plan or training document, what have you, for my electricians, so that they can sort of understand the fundamentals of controls, so that then I can grow that division. But I definitely think that's one of the hardest things to sort of wrap your head around and master.
I think it's hard for any trade to think, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. We've all got external influences, and the phone going off, and the wife asking you what time you're coming home for dinner, and what you want for and got to go and pick the kids up from school and everything else as well that goes on with general life. So yeah, it's hard to give yourself time to think. I think. So.
Yeah, I think for us on the bathroom side of things, the hardest still would be, the finishing, the attention to detail at the end. You silicone in, caulking, just that final little kind of 5% on that bathroom sometimes can ruin the 95 quite easily. Yeah. And it's one that we see now time and time again where it's been done, and it's just,
We're slightly different with the electrical installations in the fact that 95% of the work that we do, nobody sees, because it's all cables in the wall. Once they're chased, once they're tiled, plastered over, etc., you don't see it. The consumer units that's tucked in the back of the cupboard, nobody opens it up and actually checks that you've dressed it all in nicely. But like you said, the last 5% is the aspect, isn't it?
It's all in the prep, isn't it? No matter what trade, I think no matter what you do in life, if you prep correct, the final execution is so much easier.
And so one thing you wish apprentices knew.
They're not all going to be famous on TikTok and YouTube.
yeah. I was going to say, for me, what would I do? I wish they knew. I think, like I said, nowadays everything is about instant gratification, and actually, I think I'm not saying the work ethic has gone for all of them, because that is the wrong thing to say. But it's just, you've got to put your penance in, you've got to put your time in, and actually study and learn and actually be involved in it, for you to get where you want to go. This, where I am now, didn't come to me overnight. It's been years of late nights and sleepless nights and problems and bits and pieces.
No one sees that though, do they? And everyone just thinks
they all just
it's 8 till 5, and we've worked it from there, and it's an easy job. What do you find harder, quoting or chasing payments?
Some of the bigger quotes, I think. So, like I said, our customers, touch wood, are very good payers. So we don't have a lot of chasing to be done, to be completely honest with you. But the bigger quotes, where you've got the tenders and bits and pieces, obviously there are so many hours that goes into that, and making sure that you've covered everything that the customer wants and the customer expects, while still coming in budget and achieving what they want. That's the thing that I find hard.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you on the quoting side. We don't really do too much of the tenders, but sometimes we do a few bathrooms in the property, bathroom, kitchen, minor building works as well. So you can be sat quoting that for kind of half a day sometimes, and then you do the designs and everything for it as well. So it's a difficult one sometimes to keep on top of that, and manage people's expectations when they want everything kind of there. And then the designs, there's a high spec design that we use, and it's time to make sure that
someone do it.
Again, that attention to detail. The picture frames on the wall that your favourite football club that you support, we've put that on the wall for you in your design and stuff. It's that little bits there that just make it stand out.
Yeah, definitely. The most satisfying part of the job?
Getting paid. No, I think obviously with bathrooms and kitchens, doing what we do is that finished project. When it is finished, seeing knowing what it was like from the start to where it's come, and even with the boilers, generally you replace a boiler sometimes just as a general upgrade for the efficiency. Majority of the time it's because the boiler's at the end of its lifespan, so you run into somewhere with no heat and no hot water, certainly now going through into winter, and they're really cold, they've got kids, and you get it back on, and they're really happy. Not all the time. Some people just really don't care about a boiler. Which is fine. I understand, but sometimes that customer feeling at the end, whether it's the bathroom, kitchen, boiler, whatever it is that we've done, that satisfaction from the customer.
Yeah. So I think I'm similar with you. My satisfaction is around the customer's satisfaction. So we quite often get messages from, whether it's the tenant saying, "Oh, thank you so much, you've got my electricity back on," and I wouldn't be able to sleep, or like you say, you've got the boiler back working and bits and pieces. quite a lot in controls where we work in sort of care homes and bits and pieces like that. And they're like, they've had 6 electricians out. Oh, thank you so much. So that's the satisfaction that I get out of it. It used to be more on the finished product, so I'd stand back and go, yeah, I've done that. That's a nice job. But like I said, where it's more around maintenance now, it's more around customer satisfaction.
Yeah. It's customer-led business, isn't it? So if they're not happy, then
we haven't got a business.
No.
yeah, definitely.
Have you ever had a client try to help and make it worse?
Yeah. So in sort of the property maintenance industry, you quite often get DIYers, for want of a better word, that have a go and do bits and pieces, and sometimes it's like just let us do what we're doing. I appreciate you want to help, appreciate you want to learn, what have you, but like just this is what we do. This is our bread and butter. Let us do what we need to do. So, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, we had one customer try and help take a radiator off and got black sludge everywhere, and it was like, should have just left it to us. I'm glad that it wasn't us doing that, it's they don't always realise what. Obviously we know that if the radiator comes off, it's generally going to have quite often black sludge. People think don't even think or realise that, and just it's fine. It's drained. It wasn't, and it got wet and dirty.
So, what's the worst job you've been called to fix?
Don't know about the worst, but I've got one of the guys on the job now. It's only a 3-day job that we've gone in to do, because the bathroom got done last year, was one I mentioned about earlier, where he's having to redo it again. And the bath panel was 2 inches off the floor, so there's just a gap on the bottom. They've laid the floor with the joins interlining, so that's just all popping. The bath leads were just snapped and damaged on the bath. It's just a mess where it's like, how it makes it harder for people to do it wrong sometimes. But not the word, but certainly the freshest in my mind that would be in this week.
I don't know for us. I don't know which one the worst one would be. The one that's popping into my mind straight away is we look after a building in Kent, and there's an incoming mains that feeds about 100 flats within this property, and the manifold was like a Chinese or an import that was like bespoke made for this job, and I don't know what the mains incoming comes in at, because I'm not a plumber, but I think it was around 16 bar is coming into my head. So there's 16 bar of pressure. This manifold just gave way.
That's a hell of a lot of pressure.
It was a hell of a lot of pressure and a hell of a lot of water. We obviously got called out because there was. So in this building they've got all riser cupboards, and the water was coming underneath the riser cupboards. No one knew what it was, so we got called out to go and investigate it. As we opened the door, the water just went like a torrent of water in their face, and like I said, we had to isolate the whole building and then kind of bespoke make a new manifold for it. But that was I don't think that was anyone's failing from installation. I think that was a manufacturing defect, but that was certainly a fun one for us to get over. Where are we now? The craziest clients request you've had?
It was bathroom. We wanted kind of a I don't know if it's the craziest thing, but it's certainly a little bit crazy. But wanted kind of freestanding bath. It was quite a small bathroom, and just wanted everything on top of everything really. Just to try and get this dream bathroom, but compressed into the room they had.
Space,
And it's quite often this, managing people's expectations again, isn't it, in kind of what they want. But so some people do have some wacky ideas. Which is great. We'll always be honest. If it worked, we'll run with it. Or we'll give you our advice and opinion along the way. But some people's just got their own ways of things. How about yourself?
I don't really know what's the craziest request we've had. Like I said, I think it's possibly with the BMS side, the control side of the business, where people are wanting something, but they don't really understand how to achieve it. So it's, again, like you said, it's managing their expectations. It is sort of thinking a way to do what their end goal is, and sometimes it's actually sort of take it back down to, right, so what are you trying to, what is the end goal here, and then work it back so that you're not getting a load of a barrage of information. But yeah, I don't think we get, a lot of our stuff is quite, we've done some funky lighting and bits and pieces at places that architects and designers go, oh, we want this, we want that. We did the Capital One building in Newcastle, and that was some, honestly, these lights were bespoke made and all sorts, hundreds of £1,000s on the lighting there, and that was an interesting install, but not really, yeah. So like I said, I don't think it's anything really that crazy. It's just managing their expectations.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And what's the dream job that or project you'd love to work on?
I mean, like I said, I love BMS, but I also like the small jobs. I know it sounds really corny, and I don't want it to come across. So long as people are happy with the job that we're doing, it doesn't matter to me whether it's in a council flat or whether it's in the Buckingham Palace. It doesn't make any difference to me, really. I mean, obviously you've got the sort of the pride, the ego that comes in if you have worked in one of those places. But to me, it doesn't matter where you are, who you're from, what have you. So long as we can do and make you happy, that's what we're to do.
It's all the job at the end of the day, isn't it? So
100%. Yeah.
Same follows. Obviously, Buckingham Palace is a lot more tighter on security than a normal house. But,
yeah,
it's the same job that you're doing in there today.
Yeah. It's just on a more prestigious place, I suppose. But yeah, what about yourself?
Well, I've always kind of liked the idea of building my own house. You know, as a dream project, probably that one, to be honest. You know, whether I get there and do that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Might fast track it and just buy a nice house somewhere else, and do a little bit of work to it. But yeah, you know, it's somewhere along those lines, really.
So I've developed a couple of my own houses, not built them from scratch, but obviously remodeled, redone, kitchen, bathrooms, etc. And it's not for the faint of heart, the remodeling alone. But we're planning in the next sort of 2 to 3 years to redo our house and rebuild it from scratch. I think, because it's all very old, but that's going to be quite an exciting project.
Is that caravan on the drive?
I don't know, or maybe in-laws' house. We will see. We'll have to see.
Caravan on the drive, then.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for your time today, Reiss. It's been a pleasure to learn more about your business, and you know, hopefully the end users and listeners have, you know, enjoyed your business and your background. Some key points there to take away with, and you know, some interesting points that we've discussed. So, you know, if you do want any more on Reiss's business, or you think it's something that you need some work doing from Reiss, then just get in contact with him. His details are below in the bio. It's likewise with mine. So please like and subscribe to our pages. And if there's anything else that we can help you with, then please let us know. If there's any points that you want to be talked about on this podcast, then again, get in contact, and we can make sure they're raised. Have a great time. Thank you.